Exterior. Corner of street with view of the women's bathhouse. Romance and Baby track down Mira and Zoe, sleuthing after them once they notice the girls entering the women's bathhouse. Mira and Zoe realize their presence, but don't immediately prepare to defend themselves. They'll wait until they return to Rumi's side and then attack. Romance and Baby navigate the shadows with ease as the girls lead them through a long corridor. Mira and Zoe enter the room where Rumi is waiting. They warn Rumi with a piercing glance, gather their weapons, and abruptly disappear from Romance and Baby's view. When they reappear, each of their sharp weapons appears inches from Romance and Baby's faces. Romance and Baby are bent at a sharp angle to avoid the blades piercing their skin. Romance, he cries out with increasing volume. Chuck 'em on, chuck 'em on, chuck 'em on! Zoe and Mira force their weapons closer. Romance, desperately. Please, we aren't here to hurt you. We just want to talk. Mira grunts, using her spear to snag hold of Romance's shirt and make him straighten to his full height. Zoe focuses her daggers on Baby. Rumi, in disbelief. Talk? You just want to talk, as if we haven't heard that before. Rumi scoffs and rolls her eyes, and Baby slowly straightens to his full height while slowly taking a few steps back. Rumi and Zoe train their weapons on him and follow him. Baby, earnestly. Seriously, we could use your help, and I know it's the last thing you'd want to do after all that happened last spring, but we mean it. Baby stares at Rumi with pleading eyes. Rumi holds his stare as anger, wonder, and skepticism cross her features. She feels curious, considering their behavior so far has been docile. She contemplates lowering her weapon as Mira grabs a fistful of Romance's shirt and holds him up in the air. Mira, loudly proclaiming, That's right. We would never want to help you after what you did to please Gima. You're despicable. Rumi to Mira. Mira, wait. Set him down on his feet. Let's hear them out. Mira glances back at Rumi with an astonished expression, using her eyes to argue. Rumi widens her eyes and raises her brows as if to say, Please, just trust me. If they do anything funny within the next 3 minutes, we'll cut them down. Mira begrudgingly lets go of Romance, and he drops to the floor with a loud Romance in a soft tone. Gently. Romance mutters to himself as he gets up from the floor to stand and face the girls. Rumi, Mira, and Zoe stand in a V formation with their weapons at rest. Baby stands just behind Romance. Rumi, you have 3 minutes. Talk. Romance swallows and starts to explain everything. As Romance speaks, the story visually unfolds before the audience. He explains that the underworld has become untenable since the takedown of Gima last spring. He shares that before Gima's rule, there was an order to things when souls entered the underworld, and that the Demon King was responsible for enforcing that order. Since Gima's demise, the underworld has been in chaos. Surprisingly, Gima had not always been a tyrant. He once ruled with compassion and grace. During that time, when new souls entered the underworld, they would radiate vibrant colors that allowed Gima to decipher their character and assign them an adequate role in the afterlife. Souls who lived model lives to protect the balance of life, expanding the arcs of justice, had a dazzling blue tint. The souls of people who led unassuming lives and hardly disrupted the internal balance glowed a pink hue. Those with good intentions who suffered incongruent consequences were illuminated in magenta tones, while the souls of those who had been cruel gleamed a deep purple. Souls could be assigned to humble tasks or roles, subject to eternal punishment, or granted eternal providence in the realm of elsewhere, based upon their color. The realm of elsewhere was a dwelling that no soul could ever venture to on their own, or escape once they were placed there, as it was thought to be an opportunity for second chances or reincarnation. Then, one day, a soul devoid of color entered the underworld. It was so blinding that Gima could not gaze upon it to judge its character and assign the soul a role within the realm. For this reason, Gima resolved to observe the soul as it interacted with other souls, and eavesdropped on the soul when it believed that no one else was around. The soul never committed a questionable or egregious offense during its time in the underworld, so Gima thought it was fated to be sent to elsewhere. However, the disgruntled souls of magenta and purple tones, and some with pink hues, were dissatisfied with Gima's indecision and plotted to eliminate the colorless soul. When Gima discovered the offended soul's plans, he intervened, but it was too late to save the innocent soul. He immediately devoured the souls responsible for the death of the innocent soul, emitting for the first time the ancient flames thought to be synonymous with the Demon King. Soon after, Gima isolated himself from the subjects of the underworld, absconding from his duties as the Demon King. Although souls continued to enter the underworld, they would be languishing at the gates since Gima had abandoned his duty to sanction them. Some souls organized to reinforce the structure Gima had established, but were discovered and punished by Gima for challenging his authority. As the circumstances grew out of hand, weakening the barriers between the underworld and upper world, the fates intervened, introducing the prowess of the hunters and protection of the Honmun. Nevertheless, the underworld was relegated to pain and suffering as the result of Gima's indelible grief. The audience is transported back to the spa room, where Romance, Baby, Rumi, Mira, and Zoe sit intently, listening to Romance recount the history of the underworld. The camera focuses on Romance, closing in on his sullen expression. Romance, exasperated. And now, everything is much worse than when it first started to go wrong. We have no Demon King, no escape, and no hope. Baby, in a disconcerting tone. Unless you hunters are willing to help us. Romance, delicately. Like you helped Jinu? Rumi's expression was aghast as she gazed upon Romance. It hurt her that he would even evoke his name. Zoe, confused. That was different. Jinu and Rumi had a connection. None of us have ever been kind to demons before that. I don't see how we can help you. Romance. With your voice, of course. Rumi bears the mark of Gima, and if we take her to the underworld and Mira to Romance. Hold up. You want to take us to the underworld? There's no way that's happening. Baby, pointing to Rumi. Just her, actually, because she bears the mark of Gima. Zoe, shifting her daggers into throwing form. You wouldn't lay a finger on Rumi. Romance. No, it isn't like that. Since she bears the mark of Gima, she can enter the underworld. Rumi, simultaneously, with Romance. I can enter the underworld.